You are now live.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining us today at passionateworldtalkradio.com, where we educate, enlighten, and entertain. I wanted to introduce myself and my partner here, and we are excited about what we have for you today. Coach Red, why don't you go ahead and get us started on who you are and what you're about?
Hey, sounds good. And thank you, Nina, and welcome to everybody. My name is Michael Red, although more often than not, I'm called Coach Red. I'm not sure how I acquired that, but it certainly seems to fit.
You
Uh,
look like a coach.
okay, fair enough. I think that. But I am the founder of what we call Coaching by Zen and the Cause Change Foundation, and was lucky enough to find this lady who, at least for me, is on my right or on the other side of the country from me, so that we can actually try to work and to make an impact on people. So when we talk about the things we're going to talk about today, it's partially about message, but it's also partially about action. And that's what's really important to us, because our tagline for all of the things that we do is changing the world one life at a time. And, we'll probably have plenty of time to go through backgrounds and go through bios and things like that. But that's a quick introduction to who I am. So I'm going to hand it back over to my partner in crime, Nina, and I'm going to let her talk a little bit about who she is.
Okay, so some of you may have heard of me. I had a podcast called Majestic Wellness Show, and it's been aired on iHeartRadio. I traditionally talk about my background and how I help people get rid of two root areas, fear and inferior, how there's branches associated to those root areas, and how we can help basically exchange the lies that you've been believing, bringing into the truth, and then helping you change patterns so that you can make better choices, have a different perspective, and your mindset aligns with the truth versus the lies, and everything else kind of follows from there. So I do a lot of different types of coaching through that, training, educational platforms, and I also wrote a book on that. So my background, just so you know, I've been in the wellness space, and I say space because it's been wide range: personal trainer, nutritionist, detoxification specialist for a lymphatic technique that I'm the founder of called Extract, that we became a household name in certain industries like the oily industries. And we're the people that are going to be able to help you kind of craft your message, help you as a coach, kind of line you up into the area direction that you want to go as a coach. But also, if you're looking for a coach, maybe help you to be able to decipher the direction and path you want to go for a coach, because there's so many different coaches out there. And before I get too caught up in the word coach, I want to say that we are actually coining a new phrase, right, Michael?
That's right. And I think it's a real good one, too, to really talk about what we do,
Right.
differentiate a little bit in the space.
Right. And so what we are called is we're called impact artists. I love that, because impact means we're making a punch. We're really, we're taking life and we're making a punch out of it. And whatever that needs to happen, they're going to get what they need. Meaning, when you go after something, you punch it, you open things up, don't you? You kind of just get it in there and you make it happen, and you just take it to whatever level you need to take it for. And I believe that impact means that, right? But then you have the artistic part, which is the creative, the innovation. And I believe all of our coaches, including you and I, have that, where we can be innovative and creative pretty much on a dime. I mean, impulsively. We don't just have to really think about what we're going to do, because it's part of who we are. It's our character, right? And I think that just ties in the impact artist. And then our tagline or our logo is impact with a purpose. And unfortunately, you can't really see it today, but you will be able to see it in the future shows. And this is our first show, guys. So give us a little bit of grace here. And we're kind of fine tuning, working together, Coach Red and I. Mm-hmm. And we believe that we can really bring something very unique to the marketplace, not only through a podcast, but through YouTube. And also, we were talking about FM and AM radio stations, so that people, when they're driving their cars, they can get this information that they're looking for. We also believe that we can help people really inspire hope in their lives. And I think we're getting to that place where people are they're losing hope. I've been there. I know what it looks like to lose hope and to want to commit suicide. I was there years ago. Nothing was working for me. And it seems like everything I put my hands to do was just failing. And I got to that place where I'm like, if I can't make this work, I'm just going to end it. I'm a type A personality. I'm a person who really has to go out there and function and focus and be successful. And when I was working on certain things, they just weren't working for me. And I started doubting my own abilities and my own understanding of why I was doing what I was doing and my purpose. And when you don't have a purpose and you don't know who you are, that's when you're really lost. And I think there's so many people out there that are lost and they don't really know their purpose and they don't know why they're here and they're struggling. And I want to be able to help them fine tune who they are, pull out their true identity of who they're called to be and help them into their destiny. And that could look different for everybody. It could look through maybe it's something going on. Yeah, maybe it's something going on relationally, right? Maybe it's something in their own work-life balance and they don't have that balance. Maybe it's something emotionally that's going on because of trauma. But we can help them in whatever capacity that they need, not only because we've gone through it, but we have other coaches, impact artists that have gone through it as well that can actually help people get on the other side. Yeah, yeah. And I'm going to kind of segue back and forth between coach and impact artist, because if we get somebody who tunes in later, they're not going to say, well, that's an impact artist, right? So we have to bridge that. And so anyway, I can talk on and on, but go ahead, Coach, you go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, you said something that I really want to tag on to. First of all, I want to give you a little shout out too, because I met Nina when she actually applied to become a coach, not an impact artist, because we didn't have that yet. And somewhere we kind of realized we shared a brain, which was very interesting, because everything that she just taught, well, we got to get that out there, right? But everything that Nina just talked about right here really talks about the last 20 years of journey for me as well. So I came up, and I promise I wasn't getting into too deep of a background, but I spent the last 20. Yeah, I know, but it's that whole humility thing, right? But
that's out the door.
throw it out the window, right? But I spent the last 25 years in corporate America, which was sort of a thing that more happened to me than something that I chose to do. My life has always been one where I wanted to serve other people, and what that means for people is very different. The more that you get to know me, and the more that you get to know Nina, you realize that we both have that same purpose, that same mission, but it manifests itself in different ways. And with the two of us, it's very complementary, which is great. But 25 years, I thought of myself more about a coach and a mentor in a business sense. And when I first started writing this concept called Leadership Zen, it really was about how do people find their best person within them. So the way Nina's talking about, sort of that purpose and how she works and what she's done for the last, several years, Leadership Zen was really the same kind of thing. And it just kind of grew over the last 20 years. And it really is about changing the way that you think so that you change the way that you act. And when you change the way that you act, you have an impact to create this contagion that positivity is actually very contagious. And that's a big thing in terms when we talk about changing the world one life at a time. It's if I can change mine, and I'm going to tell you, I got enough stories like Nina does about where I've been in that dark space. I'm going through some challenges right now, but I think Nina will tell you I haven't lost a step when it came to that positivity. And
he's going through it, guys. He's going. I don't know. It's up to you if you want to share what you're going through, but he's going through it. I mean, some of the worst things you can go through, he's going through it right now.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I will save that one because there is a story behind it, but I want to tell you. But it's and when I say I'll save it, I mean I'll save it until after I'm done talking about Leadership Zen, right? But when I first started thinking about it, it was really in a context of how people could become better business leaders, and then I realized there's really no difference because we could talk life coaching, career coaching, health and wellness coaching. It really for us comes down to the mind, body, soul, and spirit. And if those four things are not in balance, and this is what I write about, it's what I blog about, it's what I got books about out there. If it's not in balance, then your relationships, your work, just the fun that you have, your social, it can never be in balance. So the Leadership Zen philosophy is really based upon making 6 commitments to yourself. And those commitments are supposed to turn into habits. And when they turn into habits, that's where this transformation happens. And for me, the way this evolved is that the commitments are authenticity, curiosity, vision, passion, courage. And funny, the thing I just mentioned a little while ago was humility. And if you put these things together, I think it not only gives you a place where you can be the best you that you can be, but I think you can also be the best you for other people and create that momentum and that energy to help them get to the same place. So when my partner in crime over there talked about some things that I'm going through, this is a very recent thing I want to tell you. And I've gone through some of my own challenges throughout my life as well. Don't mind telling you, I've got a little bipolar thing going on that has taken me a while to kind of come to grips with, which I have. I mean, we're taking care of that correctly. But a few weeks ago, and this is really when Nina and I started getting close, which was strange, the timing of it, because it occurred to me that I needed someone like Nina. In fact, I would argue I needed Nina to be in my life at that time. I had a nasty little day where I suddenly couldn't feel my legs anymore, which was a little odd. I'm a pretty vibrant and athletic guy. But eventually I realized I had to go to the emergency room, and they took me to the emergency room and they x-rayed my back to find out what was going on. And it turned out that my T5 vertebrae was impacting a nerve that apparently controls a lot of the sensation below the waist, in particular my legs, my feet, so on and so forth. So I had literally lost the ability to stand, which I don't mind telling you is a little weird. Yeah. But when they took me to the hospital, they did the CT scan or the MRI. I think it was the MRI. I don't remember, but they found that it was being impacted by a mass. Okay, so nobody ever wants to hear mass. So I immediately got shipped to Loyola University Hospital, which is the best in the Chicagoland area. Strangely enough, it's also where I graduated my undergrad from. So, funny how that turns around. They put me through another set of scans, and it turns out that there was a mass on my spine. There is mass in my lungs. And eventually we figured out that there was a mass in my colon. And this actually originated as a colon cancer and spread, thankfully, through the bloodstream, not through the lymph nodes. So I'm now undergoing radiation and chemotherapy in order to fight what I'd argue is one of the larger battles of my life. And the reason that I share this with you is, number one, I'm exceptionally transparent anyway. I can't be a coach if I can't share my own.
Right. You can't. If you're not relatable, absolutely.
Exactly.
I agree with you.
And
I agree with
I've been using this to help other people understand that it's a fight. There's no question about the fight. But I think Nina will vouch for me that not once have I lost my positivity. Not once have I lived in fear about it.
Nope.
I've looked at it as an opportunity to number one, prove my authenticity to myself, because it's easy to say what you would do when it happens to you.
Yeah.
But you know what you're going to do when it does.
You know what you're made of when you're facing it. Yeah.
Exactly. So at least I had that authenticity thing go down, right?
Yeah.
But the other side is, for me, ultimately, going back to the Fortune 500, 25 years thing, I walked away from it 4 years ago to do exactly what I'm doing right now. And so when I look at this story, and I blog about it and so on and so forth, when I look at this story, this is just one aspect of what I bring to the world to be able to help other people do these things. And not only is it what we do in our practice together, but the other thing that we do is, of course, we have this foundation, the Cause Change Foundation, where we use this not only, if the coaching side is about teaching people individually about how to change the world, change themselves, the foundation is more about what kind of more macro action can we take. And ironically enough, one of the causes there when we talk about healthy people is cancer awareness and prevention, which has nothing to do with me and won't, because my mission is to help other people not have to go through it. It's actually in honor of my mom, who was a 13-year breast cancer survivor and the strongest person I've ever known. So we'll talk about that separate, because our focus today is more the macro. But thanks, Nina, for letting me share that story.
Hey, this is what it's about. And I really didn't get a chance to share too much about it, but I've had some struggles, but mine were very specific to my own reputation and who I am as a person. And I tell you, as a people person, as a people pleaser that I have been for most of my life, that'll knock you out. When people don't like you and they don't like the way you run things or what you're saying, or they just come against you and they lie about you for whatever reason, that will take you down, and it'll take you down fast. And it did. It spiraled me down really, really fast. And it shouldn't have, because when I was going through what I was going through, I was also running a business, and I was going through some marital issues and some other things that were going on. So it was like all this stuff happened at one time. And it was right when I was bringing out this signature process called extract for the lymphatic system, when it all surfaced. And I believe the bigger the battle, the stronger the word, the stronger the impact that we have. And I'll tell you, when I was bringing this process extract out for the lymphatic system, the battle was unbelievable. And it seemed to hit me on all levels: business, reputation, marriage, family, and finances,
Hmm.
all at once for the first 3 years of doing this, getting this out. The hardest time in my entire life, I honestly saw myself, I saw a vision of myself, and I get visions a lot. I'm actually, I'm very Christian. I'm a Christian. I'm an ordained minister. I tell people that right off the bat, you need to know who I am. And so when God speaks to me, he'll give me pictures or visions. I guess that's called like a seer. Well,
Hmm.
I saw myself getting beaten up, like bloody beaten up for these 3 years. And it was just a nonstop vision that I saw. And I kept getting bloodied down, go down, come back up, get beaten down again, come back up, get beaten down again. It was just this blood everywhere and just body parts just mangling. And that's what I was walking in and living in for the first 3 years of bringing this process out. I want to tell you this, Michael. I didn't tell you that before, but I'm telling you this now because I want you to know what we are carrying, what you are carrying, what you are developing, what you are
Hmm.
bringing to the nations is bigger than you know. And you're carrying a bigger punch and a bigger impact than you know. And that's why you're getting the attacks that you're getting, because it's trying to squash you down so that you can't
Hmm.
take it out there. But because you're resilient, because you're tenacious like I am, you don't
Hmm.
stop. You just keep going because you're called. It's in you. You have to keep going. And I tell people, I'm like Nehemiah building the wall. He just kept going. He was building an axe with an axe in one hand and the and a sword in the other. He's like, I'm going to keep going. You can battle me all you want, but I'm not going to stop. And that's where my life has been ever since I brought this out in 2006.
Yeah.
And it's never really stopped. It's taken some highs and lows. So, and I've gotten to the place where I don't expect it, but I learned how to really embrace it, to learn
Hmm.
from it and grow from it and see it for what it is. And that is a platform to catapult me to where I need to go.
That's right.
And I always tell people, if the enemy's under your feet, you need to step on top of that footstool to reach what you need to get to, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So I believe that everything that you're going through, everything I've gone through, and everything that our listeners are going through is for a reason and a purpose, and it's not in vain.
Oh
And
yeah.
it depends on how you're going to perceive it, is how
Hmm.
you're going to go through it. If you got to go through it, you got to go through it. But the way that you perceive it is all the difference on how you're going to come out of it, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
so,
A- And I want
yeah.
to tell you folks, because I'm all about gratitude. And funny thing is, in my book, when I do this 30-day journal, one of the things I always talk about, and this comes more from the spirit side and the soul side, is really about giving gratitude. And Nina is somebody that I give gratitude for every day because, number one, she's living her own truth. There's no question about that. And she also supports me to make sure that I do. I've got my own authenticity. I kind of do my things my own way. I think that's probably why I started all this, so I could do so in my own way. But I will tell you what, this woman lives her truth. And one thing that she's been very humble about and not saying is that, as I mentioned, she joined us as a coach. And now she is actually running one division of the business because, number one, I trust her that much. Number two, she does have a story, and that story helps other people, meaning our impact artists, to be able to do the work that they do and to do it at such a level that it goes beyond a session. It goes beyond the package that we're running. It really is about the idea of changing people so that they can change the world. And I'll give you an example of that. Okay. So I went through this major hiring process, and Nina was a part of that, but she was on the interview side, right? When all this stuff started going down. So I bring on like 20 coaches and things like that. I'm ready to onboard. I'm ready to do all this stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm in the hospital for 3 weeks. And I hadn't, this is on me, I hadn't set up the organization to run without me. Okay. So number one, a little less than humility there. Okay. You can run a $1 billion business unit and still not know that you have to let things go in order to do it. Right. So during that 3 week period, I have all these coaches that, they're part of the business now, they're part of our community. And I will tell you what, I was utterly surprised, and I tell you what, just a good warm feeling that when I mentioned that this was going on, because I'm very transparent, not only on something like this, but also with the team. Nobody was talking about onboarding. Nobody was talking about getting me clients. Every one of those folks got on and said, "Hey, coach, listen, we know what you're going through. We're here for you. What do you need from me to keep this brand going?"
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and you know, Nina was definitely a part of that, but it was literally 19 other coaches who got up and said the
Yeah.
same thing. And that's when I personally realized. So I look at what I've been writing about for the last 20 years and say, okay, I wrote about it and I try to live it, and I try at least formally or informally to help other people live it and get to that place of the best me, the best them. This is different now. What we are doing here is different. It's more than the branding of coaching by Zen or impact artists. I think that those are critical because we do want to stand out in the space, because we do believe that what we are bringing is a little bigger. Like Nina just said, it's a little bigger. And that's not to say anything about other people who go in the space. I think it's just the fact that we've got at this stage 20, 25 people that are so mission based that it even surprises where I'm at. So number one, Nina, I appreciate the compliment on where we go. I'm also going to say that you're as much a part of it as I am, and so is our team. And I think that what is going to be great about this, particularly as more people, I hope, hear our message and the things that we're trying to do here, that can be the catalyst for great change outside of anything that we do directly. So one thing I do want to point out is that, you know, for a business guy, where it was all about balance sheet and shareholders and rest of that, the biggest freeing thing that I have is that the only metric that this business has is how many lives we can touch. And quite frankly, I set a goal of 20,000 for 2020, you know, kind of, you know, getting all creative and stuff. That number now seems small based on where we are.
I agree. I think it's small.
So, yeah.
And when I saw that, I'm like, nah, we're going to triple that.
Exactly.
That's just too small, because of the impact that we want to take, and because of the hearts of the people and the desire and the mission that we're about. That's what it's about. It's people helping people and doing it in such a authentic, organic way that are intentional to really change lives. And I love that word impact. It's so real. I don't want it to be like a salesy thing. I want it to be a mission thing. I want people to understand this is not so that we could make a lot of money. This is so that we can change lives in such a way that we can eliminate suicide, or at least reduce it, that we can bring hope to people that have no hope, so that we can help people who don't think they have a purpose know that they have a purpose, so we can help people come into their true identity and live a truth that they have been living a lie. That's why we're doing what we're doing. It's not so that we can make the dollars. Yeah, of course, money works, and it works for us, and we all want to make money and bring it in, but it's not our focus. It's not our focus. Our focus is people and change, right? And helping people adapt to change. Really quick story. My husband has been in the same industry for 25 years, very successful businessman, just sold his business. He has gone through such a transition. He doesn't know who he is anymore, because that business was who he was for the longest time. And I know, because when I had my business, that's who I was. I lost my identity in my business. Do you know how many people lose themselves in their businesses or in their careers because we're so focused, and everything else just kind of takes a little backseat, doesn't it? Or you come into a place of fear because now it's the unknown. Now, see me, I'm strange. I kind of like the unknown. I like not knowing what's on the other side. Put it this way, I had 150 jobs. That's in my book, so it's not a big it's not a big thing. 150 jobs. What does that tell you about me? Well, it can tell you a couple different things, but what it told me is I knew I was made for more. And if I couldn't find it, I had to go on. I couldn't just stay there. And I thought it was something that was a weakness, but I see it as a strength, because it's helped me to embrace change very easily. It's helped me to adapt when I need to adapt, and adjust when I need to adjust. And it's got me to a place where I don't get comfortable very long. I can get to the place where I get comfortable, and then I got to go to the next level. And I believe I can bring that to people and say, you know, if you're not a good person on change, I'm going to help you bring that change into your life and embrace it and live it and make it work for you instead of the opposite, and help you be more optimistic, not pessimistic, and see it from a different light. And I'm doing that with my husband right now. I'm saying, okay, like, you know what? This is what we're doing. This is the choice you've made. Now let's look at how we can make this work to your benefit as a win-win. I believe everyone should live at a win-win. It should never be a deficit in anybody's area. And if I'm going to work with you, I want to see you get wins every single time. I want to help you pull out your gold every single time, because we all have gold, but sometimes it's really, really deep down and we have to dig for it. But I'm willing to do the digging. I'm willing to be the treasure hunter, whatever it takes. And I told you this, Michael, when I first met you. I said, I'm a treasure hunter and I got to find gold for
Yeah,
people
you
because I
did.
know everybody has gold.
Yeah,
And
you
I
did.
really believe that, that's not just a cliche. That's something that I
Mhm.
truly believe, that there
Mhm.
is gold in people. And
Absolutely.
I want to help people find that.
Well,
That's important to me.
that's what's interesting, and yes, she actually did say that to me when we first got together. But what's interesting to me is, again, when I take a look at this foundational philosophy that I've been working on for 2 decades of my life. We talk about authenticity. So authenticity is all about finding the true you and being the true you.
Right.
But those next two, the curiosity is really living in the world like you did when we were children, right? You didn't sit
Yeah.
back up and pass judgment on something. You took a look at a flower and said, "Hey, that's kind of cool. It's beautiful. What is it?" We ask questions versus saying, "This is what it is." And the older that we
Yeah.
get, we sort of lose that because our experiences and the conditioning that we have really tell us what we're looking at. So if I'm
Right. So we
looking
don't
at
really
a
have to question it.
flower, yeah, some people see a flower, some people see a lotus, and other people say, "What is this and why is it in my yard?" Right? Well, curiosity, when you can open your mind to the world that's around you without judgment. And I'm going to tell you, I don't want to say it's taken me a while to get to non-judgment, but I will tell you, I've never really judged people. I used to be a big debater about things because it was fun to me. But at this point in my life, I've kind of gotten to a place where I'm accepting of everything, everyone, and people say you can't possibly be that way. And I say, watch me for 3 days and tell me how I feel about it. But that curiosity piece is critical because the next thing is this vision. And that's what Nina's talking about. From vision is where we come with our mission. It's where we come with our goals. And when you can open up your mind to start seeing that, then the real work becomes, number one, how do you sustain that? And part of that is having the courage to realize that comfort that Nina talks about, when we lose that identity. Well, 25 years of my life, my identity was working for large companies, rising through ranks from entry level to essentially C-level VP. And when I left it, I made a choice to walk away from it. A lot of my folks still think I'm crazy. And I'm going to tell you what, I had somebody come up to me right towards the end and ask me, "Why do you keep running back to something that you hate?" And that was the word. It wasn't, "How do you come and keep running back to something you don't really like? Why don't you find a new job?" It was, "Why do you keep running back to something that you hate?" And as I did my own self search, I realized that, when I started my career, I worked for some great organizations. I've had experiences that I never thought that I would have in my life, right? But as the career went going on and whatnot, I realized that the job itself wasn't changing. And more importantly, the way I wanted to impact people wasn't really there. And quite frankly, I got to a place where the stories I had to tell to kind of keep the narrative running started making me feel like I wasn't being fully full of my own integrity.
I get it.
It's just the way that I'm wired.
Almost like you're selling your soul.
Bingo, exactly.
Yeah, I've been there.
And
I've been there. Yeah. Don't
so
compromise there. Yeah.
no. So like you, when I made that decision, I walked away with a clear heart and I had no fear about where I was going to go. Now, you're replacing a paycheck with, something a little uncertain, but
Yeah.
I had no fear because I knew it was the right calling for me. I found my curiosity and I found my vision. And that vision is why you and I are sitting here right now and having a conversation together. Because that was my road to get to you and to get to this and to be able to reach people.
Every path leads somewhere. Yeah. And I believe that every road. Yeah. So I agree with you. This is coming to me. And I just want to say this because it's coming when something comes to me, I know that this is usually people need to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
When I said I had some battles that I was going through and I said some financial battles, I want to share what those battles were, specifically finances.
Mm-hmm.
I went through 5 lawsuits, which were bogus. I was on the Judge Joe Brown show. If you ever heard of that, where the TV show where they air out. I was on that.
Okay.
I actually won that case. Lost the other 2 cases. Actually, one of the verdicts was actually at my house before I even got home. It was a big lie. It was somebody who knew me. It was a friend of mine, decided to sue me, said she worked for me, never did. I went through another one where the guy was a con artist and he went around to small businesses and went to just sue people, mediate for thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
I went through an embezzlement with a best friend. Actually, we were in Bible study together and she stole $30,000 from my company and all my equipment when I went to go open my door, but I had a dream about it beforehand, so it wasn't too much of a shock. I went through judgment, bankruptcy. I went through it all in a matter of about 3 years. It pretty much destroyed me. I also had a bad business partner,
Mhm.
and he took about $50,000. So when I say I was down in the dumps financially, I was down in the dumps financially. And I will tell you, I have learned so much through that. First of all, I see finances completely different than I ever had. That is
Oh,
a
yeah.
total mindset, by the way,
Mhm.
completely. I see finances as gain, not loss. When I'm writing a check for a bill, or when I'm paying a bill, you don't write checks these days anymore, but when you're paying a bill, most people see it as loss. I see it as gain because I gained value for that service that I'm writing that check for. It is a perspective and a mindset thing. Finances are an emotional connection. How you see finances is how it's a relationship. And I actually wrote a book, and it says, God said, hire your money, to teach your money how to work for you and you not work for it. Your money should work for you. You don't work for it. Your money should serve you. You don't serve
Mhm.
it. And it should be about gain and not loss. And when you get that turnaround, that mindset change, your finances, I have seen this, $40,000 in debt within 2 months gone.
Mhm.
And nothing changed but my mindset.
Mhm.
Tell me how that works. I have no idea, but I believe that our mindset and the perspective of how we see and view finances is,
Mhm.
is the key to financial freedom.
Mhm.
Do you agree with me on that?
I completely agree with you on that. And the other thing I wanted to mention as you said it is, when you talk about where that brought you to emotionally, spiritually, and a whole bunch of different places, as most people know, finances are one of the biggest anchors we walk around with. So we talk about that death, divorce, finances are right up there as well,
Sure.
because it's a if you take a look at the hierarchy of needs, security, personal security, security for our families is one of those critical things. And so I can relate because I've been through that as well.
Yeah.
Not to the level you did, but I'm just saying.
I don't think
Uh,
too many people have.
well, let's just say I had a business partner that really liked spending company money on nail polish and spa salons when we weren't making any money doing what we're doing. But you're talking $30,000. I'm talking about 900. So
Yeah, yeah,
I was
yeah.
able to recover from mine, but I completely understand where you're coming from. They're all anchors, and part of the work that we do, and part of the work, and when I say we, it's partially company, but it's partially each of us as individuals, Nina and myself, and the folks that work for our organization. It's really about recognizing those things for what they are. I can say the same thing about the cancer that I have. I'm not surviving cancer. I just happen to have something that's running through my body that I don't like, and I'd like it to go away. But it will go away. I'm
Absolutely.
not worried about that. It'll go away, and it certainly isn't. It's not a fight I'm going to lose.
That's
It's
right.
just a thing.
Right.
Finances are just a thing. It doesn't mean it doesn't affect us. It doesn't mean that it can't bring us down. But when we can reach that next place that says it is just a thing, now what am I going to do about it? Now what? Because
Right.
you
You're in the
can't change
journey.
it.
You got to
You
figure
know,
it out. Right.
you can't change it. So
Right.
what am I going to do to walk through it? And there's a certain, for me, I call it Zen. Okay, Zen is a mindset. There's a certain Zen that comes for me going through what I'm going through right now, or whatever it is you want to call it. Whatever I'm doing right now, I mean, I moved up here so I could help take care of my parents, kind of hang out for a little. And now,
They're
I'm
taking care of
walking
you.
with a walker,
Yeah.
and my dad's having a
Temporarily.
few for me.
Temporarily.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm walking on 2 feet. Although I think I told Nina I took my first spill today after 3 weeks. That was a
Yes, and
little.
you're going to calm down on that one. That's not going to happen again.
No, she takes care of me in that regard.
Well, okay, that's me on that one.
She already chastised me, but I look at it and say the reason that I took that spill was because I pushed myself a little hard. But if I didn't push myself hard, then I wouldn't have beaten that 3-month timeline that my physical therapist says it's going to take for me to get to a cane. I can walk
Yeah.
with a cane now. It's not steady and it doesn't look pretty. I think my salsa days are quite over. But my new normal in 8 months, I know, is going to include walking and being able to do what I did before. By the way, I couldn't dance before, so that wasn't really a big deal. But
Okay, I can
I
dance.
already know it's
I'm
going to be there. Yeah, I kind of figured that somehow. So it's okay.
no, I don't know why I brought that up, but a lot of times when those thoughts come in my mind, I really believe it's because people need to hear it.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out there and just share some of that. I think if we can just give little nuggets like that
Mm-hmm.
throughout our show, it's gonna impact people's lives, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
even that little thing. Maybe someone will say, "Wow, you know what? I never saw it like that." Yeah, it is gain. It's not loss. It's a perspective thing, or like what you're going through. Just going through it and getting through it to the best you can, and not letting it take you down,
Mm-hmm.
and being and not letting the fight take the fight out of you.
Right. Well, I'm that guy with the sword, and I'm walking
Yes, you
through
are.
people getting through that wall. So That's my parents always
Machete.
tell me this. My parents always tell me this story when I'm like 4 years old, and there was an exercise bike in the basement, and I was too small for it. My uncle came up to me and said, "Let me help you." And I said, "No, I'll figure it out myself." And that really is the tenor of my entire life. So even as I'm sitting here and trying to, ambulate my house so I can get, a bottle of water or something like that, my mom's always asked me, "Can I get it? Can I get it for you?" And my answer, sometimes is yes, because sometimes I try to be a little smart about it. My answer generally is no, because if I don't get up and do it myself, number one, that isn't fighting through that wall for me. But number two, from a physical standpoint, I'm not doing the things that are going to get me walking before 8 months.
And too, Michael, what's coming to me right now is it's not your identity.
No.
And a lot of times sickness or disease does become people's identity
Uh-huh.
because they get to that place of it almost is a comfort of, and I'm not going to say this to where I'm going to get backlash, but I've seen it working in the wellness industry for years.
Mhm.
I've asked people like, do you want to get rid of this? And I've had some people say, no, because if I do, my husband will leave me, and
Right.
it's just, and those are some exceptions, obviously, but that does take place. And I want people to understand that a sickness and disease is a crutch. It's not something that is supposed to be acceptable, but it's something that you're overcoming. And I
Mhm.
think that's the key word. You're an overcomer. And
Mhm.
I think that if we can
Thank you
stay
for that, by
focused
the way.
on the word overcoming,
Mhm.
and it doesn't take you down, and it doesn't become part of your identity, and it doesn't become part of a lie that you're believing is your destiny,
Mhm.
then you have this amazing opportunity to grow from it, become a better person
Mhm.
and throughout it, and help other people in that space as well.
Mhm.
And so I believe we go through what we go through so we can help other people go through it as well. I used to
Absolutely.
suffer with candida. I
Mhm.
had a very severe case of candida, and that's
Wow.
really how
Okay.
my whole journey started in the
Mhm.
health and wellness industry, where my book came up and all that. Because when I went to bed one day, I was completely healthy the day before. I went
Mhm.
to bed, I woke up the next morning, and I was super sick to where it felt like all my organs were shutting down. At
Mhm.
first, I thought it was the flu because that's what the flu feels like.
We always think, yeah. We also start with the flu, right?
Exactly. But then 3 weeks later, it was getting progressively worse
Yeah.
to the point where I couldn't put my head up off a pillow. Everything just felt like it was shutting down, my bowels, everything. And I knew something wasn't right. So I decided to go to the doctor. And for 2 years, the doctors traditionally were all the traditional doctors, the lab work, everything, they said
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong. It was in my head. I was overworked, stressed out, and here's some Prozac and see you on your way. And this was 20 some
Mhm.
years ago.
Mhm.
Well, I could have accepted that and lived that under that
That
par
new
life, right?
normal, right?
Right. But I
Mhm.
said, no, that is
Mhm.
not who I am. First of all, I was in the industry. I was a personal trainer, nutritionist. I knew I did everything right in my body
Mhm.
that I knew to do so that I could have a healthy lifestyle and live that way. But when something brought me down to that place where I was bedridden for 6 months out of 2 years,
Mhm.
that was not acceptable. I had to continue to go and be tenacious and find a cure
Mhm.
or some kind of issue what was going on, because nothing was making sense to me. They're like telling me there's nothing wrong with me, and then you start to wonder, like, is it in my head? Am I crazy? What was going on, right? Finally, I went to a naturopath, which was opposite of a doctor at that time,
Right.
and within minutes she diagnosed me with candida. Now at first I'd never heard of it. I know it's a yeast infection throughout your
Yeah.
entire system, right?
Uh-huh.
It's bad bacteria overtaking the good, but really there's traditionally no cure for it. So
That's
that
right.
put me on my journey to find a cure so that I could eat the food I wanted to eat and have energy that I needed to have and get rid of the brain fog and the fatigue that was taking me down,
Mhm.
and all the muscle aches that I had on a daily basis, and just all this stuff that was going on, and to live a normal healthy life in my 20s, because that happened when I was in my 20s over 20 some years ago.
Mhm.
So I'm just saying, we all have our journeys, we all have our battles. It's what you do with them. And because of what I went through, and because of the way that I've overcome it, and I say through
Mhm.
God's grace and giving me the right people and the right opportunities
Mhm.
and the right doors, I'm able to be here today and say, hey, I can help you if this is where you are. If this is your space, if this is where your journey is taking you, I can take you out of that. I can show you,
Absolutely.
give you ideas and tips and techniques to help you get through that. And if it's a lymphatic thing, I can tell you how to work on your lymphatic system so that
Mhm.
you aren't suffering lymphedema or edema or the other issues that people may be, suffering. So what I'm saying is, don't let where you are stop you. It's not where you are, it's where you want to go. And it's how we
Right.
take you there is what matters, right? We all have our journeys, we all have our stories, we all have our battles. What do you do with them?
Mhm.
How do you overcome? Or do you overcome, or do you just let them take over you? And unfortunately, I see it all the time. Too many people are letting them take over.
Yeah.
And it's just not acceptable. They're worth more. You're worth more.
hmm
Your life is worth more. That's why you're here still. There would be a reason. If you weren't here, you weren't supposed to be here, you wouldn't be here. You're here for a reason and a purpose. And it's our job, our impact artists, our coaches, mine and Michael's job to help you find out what that looks like.
That's
so
right.
that you can be an overcomer, tell your story, and maybe become a coach yourself if that's something that you want.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And
Right?
that's one of the things that I definitely wanted to mention about what we do. Number one, you don't touch 20,000 lives. And let's be honest, Nina was right. That number is a little small for what we're doing right now. And I think it's a little small even if we talk 3 times. When we sit down this week in our normal meeting, let's take a look and see what that is. But the other side is you don't have to be an impact artist to make an impact. We always welcome more impact artists, and we provide the tools and the coaching to help people do that. But it's the same thing with the Cause Change Foundation as well. There's always a role, and yeah, part of it is donations. That's great. We always take those. But we also like volunteers and people who just decide that for a day they want to come up and make an impact. But those are the formal ways of doing it. But the other way that you do it is have impact on the people that are around you every day. Right? All you got to do is do something to make somebody's day a little bit better. And, everybody uses the cliche, pay it forward, but that is a very real thing. If I'm having a good day or you're having a good day or anybody who's listening right now is having a good day, people notice that. And there's a certain brightness that comes so that when you're sitting in a meeting or something happens that you don't like or something like that, you always have a little bit of something to hold on to. So when you say that you're here because of a reason, you're here because of a purpose, the key is if you're not here, don't let it be that you're not here because you didn't try. Okay? Because a lot of people, and you alluded to this before, is that you can accept what people tell you and you can live and you can create your new normal. Our philosophy, my philosophy, the philosophy of our coaches and impact artists is you kind of get to make that decision about who you want to be. The question isn't, can you? The question is, why can't I? What can I do? And that comes back to that nature of curiosity. And the thing that I always come back to is one of my growing up idols was Bobby Kennedy. He actually died a little bit before I was born. But when he was eulogized by his brother, he said, Ted said something to the effect of, some people ask the question, why? My brother asked the question, why not? And that's sort of the way I've always viewed the world. If I look at something that doesn't sit well with me, then the question is, yeah, I ask, why is it like that? But only for a root cause analysis to figure out what should it look like and how do you need to get there, right?
That's it, root cause. That's exactly, I live by that, root cause. That's my book, Root Cause of Sickness and Disease, what Dr. Signal will hurt you. And it's about root causes, because if you only go to the symptom, you only go to the surface, it'll always come back. So you have to, that's why I go to those true roots, fear and inferior. I gotta get rid of those roots before I can get rid of those branches. If I just cut off the branches, they'll grow back, right? So I'm telling you, we share a brain. It's really kind of scary, guys.
Yeah, it's a little weird, but it's kind of cool too. Just gonna say.
And I'm about unification of spiritual and body too. So it's
absolutely. But I love what you just said about treating symptoms, because your candida experience, if you'd have left it where it was, you were treating a symptom. The symptoms basically told the doctor there was nothing wrong. Not saying anything wrong with the doctor, but you went for root cause. If I had just taken my back pain, which I did for a couple of weeks, and went to a doctor and they treated the symptoms, and of course, what do? They give me massive pain medication, says don't worry about it, to go. It took my legs kind of going out for me to actually go do what I need to do, because I didn't accept that. And the third time that I called the doctor, I don't remember if it was third or whatever, but they're like, well, why don't we just put you on the opioid again, and so on and so forth. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really what I want to do. But had I kept treating that symptom, I would not know where I was at today. So
and
always
go to near where you are today, because you're definitely on your way up through the healing and recovery to where maybe if you never found out and you just kept going on the symptom, who knows?
Yeah,
and we don't want to go there. Well, we don't want to go there.
Wouldn't be walking, that's for sure. So,
and that's beautiful. We don't have to go there, because you weren't one of those people who said, let's treat the symptom. You were like, let's go to the root. And I'm about root. And I tell people that all the time. I believe that if we don't go to, and I'm a huge believer on the communication between your mind, will, and emotions and your physical body. Yeah. And I teach that a lot. I talk about there's a communication that takes place. Whatever's going on the soul level, your mind, will, emotions, your body's manifesting that.
That's right.
It's getting communicated, right? So if there's trauma, your body's manifesting that trauma. And that's why I go, when I hear, people come to me who are really sick or
Mhm.
who are having issues, I'm like, well, let's talk about when this started,
Mhm.
because I need to find the root of when this started. And maybe it was 4 years old and there was some kind of trauma and your body's
Mhm.
just manifested that, right? I truly believe that a lot of the disease out there, or a lot of the symptoms that people are experiencing, are things from a trauma that took place that maybe
Absolutely.
never got dealt with, and it was just kept bottling up inside, and it just kept compounding and cumulative. And then all of a sudden your body gets stressed out, or your immune system goes down, and boom, something just pops up. You're symptomatic, and now you're trying to figure out what that symptom is instead of going to the root cause of why it started in the first place. So I always look at the soul level, say,
Mhm.
where was that trauma? When did this happen? What took place 10 years prior or 20 years prior, because we know it's cumulative? And how did this all manifest? Well, what I found, not only was it because I had taken tetracycline on and off for years,
Mhm.
which was dumping yeast in my body on a physical
Right.
level, that would have been the symptoms.
Mhm.
But if I look back and I do the history and I dig deep into the trauma, I had some trauma in my
Mhm.
life that
Mhm.
would probably sparked it and caused the manifestation of the yeast to just hit, because my immune system was lower, my stress levels were higher. I was in that fight and flight moment, and boom, it just hit. So I don't believe it, because if that wasn't the case, when I took tetracycline, immediately it should have caused an issue. It took 10 years for that issue to cause. That's
Yeah.
because it was cumulative, not only because of the physical aspect, because of the emotional piece. And there is
Absolutely.
that direct connection. And so we want to help bridge the
Mhm.
spiritual and body so that there's unity, because when there's unity, things work. When there's a
Right.
disalignment, things don't work. That's where dis-ease comes from. It's a dis-ease, an imbalance,
Thank you. Mhm.
right?
That's
So
exactly right.
that is.
Mhm.
So not only is the show about, emotionally lining people up, but it's
Mhm.
about physically lining people up, relationally lining people up, financially lining people up. It's about alignment. So our impact with purpose is really about aligning.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I'm not even sure how much you know about this, because we talk about so many things that, I think sometimes I lose it. But when I started this post corporate America journey, one of the things I decided I want to do was to become a doctor of natural medicine, right? So I started studying a program in order to do that. I do believe that there is a mind-body connection, a soul and spirit connection too. I think that it really has an impact on what you're doing. So one of the things that I studied the most, and I'm still going through the program, I still got a couple of years before I'm going to finish it, but you'd be surprised what you learn in the process.
Yeah.
Is one of my specialties as a coach and in our practice is mindfulness and meditation. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that I also use bio and neurofeedback to help people with conditions like anxiety, depression, addiction, and other things like that, PTSD, uh, even autism and things like that, ADHD, all that. I'm probably repeating myself
Okay,
a little bit.
you're freaking me out now, because that's what my lymphatic technique does. It works on those exact things, and it's quantum feedback. So
Yes, absolutely.
that's what
So,
extract does. Lymphatic, you're
so,
blowing me away. You don't stop
so what
talking.
I know how about it. So what I do is with the clients that I work with, I help them
Unbelievable.
manage these conditions, which, by the way, to your point, is often rooted in some sort of PTSD somewhere
Yeah.
along back,
Yeah.
and we need to
Yeah.
identify that. But I teach people mindfulness and meditation, and I use a tool that I can send people home with the tool, and I can monitor their meditation and what brainwave level they're in, and by helping them learn this practice and whatnot, I've been able to have some pretty good results with helping people manage. And my doctoral thesis, strangely enough, is on the brain and addiction, because people typically think of addiction as alcohol or drugs or something like that. You can be addicted to whatever you want. You can be
Yeah.
addicted, as you put it earlier, you can be addicted to having a chronic condition because of all these
Yeah.
other things that happen. And one of the myths that we have, and I'm not going to bore everybody with this one, but one of the myths that we have is after we reach a certain age, the brain can't change. Totally wrong. It's called neuroplasticity, and the brain for your entire life actually creates highways based on the things that you do. And when you stop doing something, the brain prunes. So if I am addicted to something, whether it's drama or I'm addicted to an opioid or cocaine, if you can help people stimulate those brain areas the same way through meditation and mindfulness, it helps the whole body, first of all. Okay. But
Right.
second of all, the brain will eventually prune itself off. And I'm not saying anybody cures anything. In fact, I'm not even allowed to say that because they're not
No.
patients, they're
No, I
clients.
can't say the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But at the end of the day, I don't care about that. That's a label. At the end of the day, if the outcome is where the patient or the client wants it to be, I could care less what you call it. But that's
right.
something I'm not even sure anybody in the practice knows that I do, to be honest with you.
So you know what, Michael, here's what I was thinking. I think our next show, and we're going to do this twice a month, right?
Right. Yep.
And we're going to talk about the consistency of how we're going to do that. I don't know if we're going to do it every Saturday or every couple Saturdays.
Sure.
I mean, well, we can talk about that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I want to do is I want to take part of the show next week or whenever we're going to do it again. We'll talk about
Mm-hmm.
that and talk more about that tool, because I have a tool for the lymphatic system that does the exact same thing as far as alignment and agreement in the spirit, soul, and body. And it's a tangible process that our coaches can use as well as our clients. So I think what we should do is talk about and dissect both of those, because these are tangible things.
Oh yeah.
Things that can be results with their coaching or as clients. And we both had great success in both areas. And I've done a lot with what I've done with extracting the lymphatic system, like you've done with your meditation and your tool. And these are tools. And so I really want to bring that to the surface so people know that there are some tangible tools, not only on the coaching with our impact artists, but also physical tools that people can actually see and feel within the very first session. Because I know that happens with me and extract like it does with you in your meditation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a great idea because, you know, obviously today it's more about introducing ourselves, introducing the practice, introducing our missions and things like that. But we've always had this idea that the more that we can share about some very specific themes, it helps us to engage people around those themes to be able to understand that, right?
Right. And so we want to bring in some of our impact artists as well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Share their gifts, because they're extremely gifted and they've got some great talents that we want to showcase and let them, you know, share about who they are as well and get to know that. And that's what this is about. It's that open forum, that freedom where people can be transparent and help people wherever they need to be helped. I'm excited about this show. I'm excited about the impact be having in people's lives. And I'm excited about those that are going to be listening to us and watching us, because now if they're feeling anything where they're feeling like you were saying, PTSD or any kind of depression or suicide or thing, now they can reach out and they can just contact us and say, we need help. We don't know what it looks like yet, but we need somebody who can listen to us and just help us find what we need, because we don't even know what that looks like. And that's okay. If you don't even know what it looks like, we can help you find it.
And again, that's why we exist.
That's how we roll.
That's how we roll. I like that. It's even better. It's usually how I talk, by the way. But yeah, it's how we roll. And our idea is, you know, the idea itself is not unique. And I don't think anything's unique because there's people with ideas and things like that. I think that what makes us different in our spaces, certainly in the space that I look at, is that the drive and the energy and the authenticity of not only the two of us, but also everybody who's part of this organization, this movement. And I'm not even just talking about the people that work for us, so to speak. We don't talk about working for us, but the people that even just come in touch with what we're doing and say, how can I help? And I think that, you know, for me, when I think about gratitude and blessings, that's where it is. I feel blessed to have met you. I feel blessed to have met everybody in our practice. But what I really feel blessed is
everybody. Yeah, I haven't really get a chance to meet everybody yet, but I'm getting.
Oh, you will soon enough, won't you?
Yeah. But I think if really one word comes to mind is community.
Yeah.
It's community. And I think that's what we're really doing here. But we have about 10 minutes. And so, Michael, would you do me a favor and would you close us out? Maybe if you have something that you want to share with people, tell them the website for our website, as well as Passionate World Talk Radio's website. Or if you want me to do that, it's basically Passionate World Talk.
You're already on that roll, so I'll talk about the other ones. You go ahead and talk about it.
To hear more about this and to see our show and to tune in every week with us, and I think we're going to do it twice a month. We talked about, and hopefully we'll be able to have a better consistency on that. But again, this is our first show, so we're kind of fine tuning some things like anything else. But you can check us out at passionateworldtalkradio.com. You'll hear this broadcast. And then Michael's going to talk to you about how to get a hold of us and reach out to us.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Michael. Tell you.
Thank you, and you closed that very well with the, you know, with that piece. So thank you. She actually also takes better notes than I do. I'm going to be completely upfront and transparent about that too. But first of all, I do want to thank the folks who did help us put this together, because I don't mind saying that this has really accelerated our reach, and that's really important because you can't really talk about a mission in trying to change people's lives. And if you can't talk about how to touch people's lives,
Right.
and social media is great and all the rest of that, but there is nothing like getting in front of people and just being able to say what you got. I just personally consider it to be more engaging, and I think it has a lot less noise around it. Okay. So we
Amen.
do the other one, but this is really where we like to connect. And to your point, we haven't figured all this out yet, but we may have an impact artist on every week to spend part of our show to sit down and talk about how they do what we're talking about, which, we both hope helps identify the fact that we really do have this growing community and this movement, and it's more than a place or a thing or a practice. It really is something we do. So let me talk about, in this last few minutes that we have here, let me talk about a couple things, and there's a little bit of a call to action in here as well. So first of all, let's talk about coaching by Zen. Okay, that's our I don't want to say our core activity, so to speak, but it is probably the most visible activity, and it is the place where we help people in the way that Nina and I have been describing for a little while. The website for that is real simple. It's Coaching by Zen. So the word coaching, BY, Zen, which is Zebra Echo November.com. And you can go there, you can take a look at what we do, how we do it, and you can really, what I love about it is you can go in and start meeting the coaches. But what I really love about it is the fact that there's so many different places that you can contact us, and there is always somebody taking a look at what comes in, so we can make sure that we talk to people. Maybe you talk to me, maybe you talk to Nina, maybe you talk to Jen, maybe you talk to Allison, maybe you talk to Rashad, who knows? But there's always somebody ready to listen to what you got. Now, I don't mean 24/7, but I mean somebody will get back to you in 24. I'd like you to just go check that out and get a feeling for who we are and what we're trying to do. And I hope that at least the initial feeling that you get is that we are trying to do something really big here. This is a mission, it's a movement, it's a community. This is not a job. This is not an income earner. This is something that we're doing to legitimately try to help people. So always welcome that if you see a place where you can either leave a message, please do. If we start, there's a blog up or something that you want to comment on, comments are how we revise what we do and to make sure we're tailoring what we offer to what you folks need and the folks that need. So that's going to be that. So it's coachingbyzen.com. Please go check that out. The other one that I mentioned is very, very personal to me and is becoming very, very personal to everyone else, including Nina in our world, is this thing called the Cause Change Foundation. And it's actually hashtag Cause Change Foundation. The website for that is causingchange.org. Okay, it's a nonprofit, and it's a place where I think we do some really good work. So it really works on three different things. Number one is we work on healthy people. So we already talked about the cancer stuff. I don't want to keep, harping on that because it sounds like a little self-serving, and I guarantee you it's not. It's about making sure other people don't have to sit here and talk about the things I'm talking about today. Right. Secondly, it's about general health and wellness. Okay, so that's one of our passions, the passion of a lot of our impact artists. The third, though, is education, because we believe that curiosity can be stirred by people who actually want to learn. We help people do that. Okay. The second is Healthy Planet, and we got a couple of initiatives under there. I like clean water for people. $25 can feed or give clean water to a person for the rest of their lives, because they use that $25 to build the well that will be there for the rest of their lives. There's other ones, but our belief there is that when we hand over the world to future generations, it should be at least as good, if not better, than the one that we're living in today, and that's really critical. The third one, which I'll be really quick because it's a little bit different, is today, a lot of times people take a look at these things and say it's either or. You can either do this, or you can make profit, or you can do this. My background in particular, I've gone through this multiple times. It doesn't have to be an either or. So we try to find unique collaborations with people to drive those missions further and faster. So again, I'd really like you to go check out causingchange.org as well as coachingbyzen.com. That will help familiarize. We also could really use your help because we're running, we're not walking here. And in my case, that's actually
we're sprinters. We're sprinters. We're not marathon runners. We're sprinters.
Exactly. We're here for the marathon, but we like to take a couple of those legs at the more of a running gait. So any visits you have, feedback, anything you can do to help, we will definitely do so with massive gratitude. So thank you for that.
I think we are done. I think we have 4 minutes. Do you want any losing, leaving points or anything like that? Tips, techniques, anything you want to share?
No,
Meditation?
not really, to be honest with you, because meditation. The only thing I'll say about meditation is don't ever think that you can't do it, because most of the clients that I have, they think they can't do it because, quite honestly, they don't necessarily have an understanding of what it is. You can meditate while walking or being on a subway or something like that. Meditation isn't about necessarily about quiet and drowning everything out. Sometimes it really is about taking in what's around you and being mindful of that. And that is a passion of mine. I have a practice where I go 30 minutes every day, and I don't normally miss a day. I help people with that. There are other people in our practice who do that as well. We definitely have the opportunity to go there. So it comes down to everything else we said. Don't ever think you can't do it, because you probably can. And we've got people that can help you get there.
And I tell people, you're never going to know unless you try. So if you don't get out to bat, you're never going to get a home run.
Bingo. And if you
So
strike
I guess
out,
that would
okay too.
you might strike out, but that's okay. But at least you're out there batting, right? You're never going to know unless you start.
Absolutely.
And you're never going to have a home run unless you go to bat. So I say go for it.
Right.
So I think we're pretty good. We got 3 more minutes, but I think we can go ahead and talk about passionateworldtalkradio.com again is where we are going to be actually broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
We educate, enlighten, and entertain. That's what the show is about as far as talk radio for Passionate World Talk Radio. And what we're about is impacting with purpose. So thank you, Michael, Coach Red. Thank you, Lillian, for our host. And thank you again, all your listeners and people who are going to be viewing us. And I hope that you glean some stuff from this, and this is going to be impactful, and you can take this and learn and take, even if it's just one nugget, you'll get something that you need to get from today's visit, I guess is the best way to say it, right? It's a visit.
That's right.
We're just kind of sitting at home and chilling out and chatting and just kind of bringing you into our lives. So thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.